What's going on, everybody? This is Jose from the Coast2Coast podcast, coming at you with the first episode of Deep League Streams. Here we're going to talk about three players at each position that you can stream this week that are rostered in less than 50% of leagues, and you should be able to find on your waiver wire if you're hurting or if you've got bye weeks. I know a lot of players have been decimated by injuries, and a lot of teams are looking to kind of keep their playoff hopes going as we get into the latter half of the season. Let's just get right into it. First up, we've got Nick Foles at the quarterback position, rostered in only 14% of leagues, and last week threw for over 330 yards and 2 touchdowns, and threw the ball over 50 times in the game. This week faces a bottom 5 defense against the pass, giving up around 22 points per week. With David Montgomery's status up in the air, this could be another big Nick Foles day. Expect an air raid offense from Chicago this week. Moving on to number 2, we've got Tua Tagovailoa, rostered in only 30% of ESPN leagues. Last week put up a solid day at 21 points. This week faces the 24th worst defense against quarterbacks in the Los Angeles Chargers, which we've seen other players such as Drew Lock shine against them a couple weeks ago. I think they're looking to make a playoff push. They're currently sitting at 5-3 above the Pats in the AFC East. But Tua presents that two-way threat similar to a Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. Obviously not to the same extent, but he does present that rushing threat. So hopefully Tua can put it together this week. Up next, we've got Derek Carr, rostered in 45% of leagues, facing the 25th worst defense against opposing quarterbacks, allowing over 21 points per game on average. Derek Carr, he's not a guy you feel great about starting, but he's a guy, you can kind of rely on to put up that 16 to 20 points every week. He's just a solid floor guy, kind of has a limited ceiling, but a solid trust this week. I think he's bound to have a good matchup. Moving on to the wide receiver position, first up, we've got Jacobi Meyers for the Patriots, rostered in only 19% of leagues, and has put up double-digit points in his last 3 games, including last week, where he caught 12 for 169. He's proven to be the number 1 target of Cam Newton in this offense. Although he's got a tough matchup against Baltimore, I think you've got to take the chance on him. Newton has shown that he likes to throw him the ball, and you've just got to hope that he's kind of matchup-proof in a way, and that Newton will continue to throw him that rock. Up next, we've got Josh Reynolds, rostered in less than 2% of leagues, which is kind of interesting because prior to the bye, he was averaging 12 points per game in his last 3 games, and now faces the worst defense against wide receivers in the Seattle Seahawks, allowing 37 points per game, which we saw what the Buffalo Bills did to them last week. And, the Rams are a pretty high-powered offense, at least in the past. They've got a lot of weapons out there, and Reynolds has shown to have good chemistry with Goff in the past. So let's hope, the Rams can have that everybody eats mentality this week and spread the wealth. Hopefully Reynolds can maybe get in the end zone or just be a solid PPR guy this week. Up next, we've got Darnell Mooney, rostered in only 16% of leagues. However, he's seen over 6 targets in his past 3 games. A pretty stud rookie this year and shown to be a favorable target of Nick Foles. Obviously not the number 1 target because they still have Allen Robinson, but Darnell Mooney facing a bottom 2 defense against wide receivers, allowing over 31 points per game. And with David Montgomery's status in question, expect him to haul in, that 5 for 50 type of game that, we've seen him get in the past. Up next at the tight end position, we've got Dallas Goedert, rostered in exactly 50% of ESPN leagues. I think it's kind of interesting that he's not higher rostered. I know he was hurt, but I think he's just too talented of a player. We've seen the tight end positions shine in Philly, especially when Dallas Goedert is healthy. One of Carson Wentz's favorite targets this week faces the Giants. We're hoping for a turnaround week. So up next, we've got Taysom Hill, rostered in only 4% of leagues. Yes, you heard that right. Taysom Hill. He is listed as a tight end in ESPN leagues. The Saints are rolling offensively. He's going to get rushing attempts. He's going to get targets. He's going to get completions. And he may fall in the end zone against a banged-up Niners defense. You really never know. Put up double digits in his past 2 games. I think he's going to put up solid points, regardless of his target share or the amount of receptions he actually gets. He's going to put up, 7 to 12 points depending on whether he falls in the end zone or not. I think he's a solid player this week if you're looking for a tight end stream. Next up, we've got Irv Smith, rostered in only 5% of leagues this week, facing a bottom 5 defense against tight ends. And last week hauled in 2 receptions for 2 touchdowns. We've seen how talented he can be. However, this week he is dealing with a groin injury. But I'm hopeful that he can play this week. And if he does, fire him up, because he is a talented tight end and we've seen him shine, at least last week and in the past. Moving on to the running back position, we're going to start off with Kalen Ballage, rostered in less than 9% of leagues, which is kind of bizarre. I mean, this guy was shown to be the lead back last week with Josh Jackson hurt, got 15 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown. This week has a good matchup against Miami, who gives up over 20 points to opposing running backs. I think he's a really talented player. I mentioned it in last week's episode. We've seen these guys kind of leave Adam Gase and become studs. Ryan Tannehill, Robbie Anderson, and now Kalen Ballage. I think Joshua Kelly, he might get his fair share of work, but he's not really that efficient. He's shown that he's not that explosive of a runner as Ballage, and hopefully Ballage gets the goal line carries this week. I'm sure he will. Next up, we've got Jordan Howard, rostered in 33% of ESPN leagues. I don't feel great about Jordan Howard, but he's kind of the last man standing in this backfield. Breida hurt, Gaskins hurt, and last week did fall into the end zone, got 10 carries. However, he did have a tough matchup against Arizona. This week has an easier matchup against the Chargers. I don't think he's a bad player. We've seen him be good in the past. We've seen him be good with the Eagles. I think he just needs a good opportunity and a good workload. I think this week, he's got a good matchup. Hopefully he can fall into the end zone again and be a little more efficient on the ground. They still have Patrick Laird behind him, but they haven't really used him this year. And hopefully Jordan Howard can put it together and have a solid week. Finally, we've got Latavius Murray, rostered in 49% of leagues, so just barely made the cut, but on the season averaging over 10 carries a game. And against this Niners defense, they might ease Kamara on the run, at least in the goal line. Murray's going to get the goal line carries. However, Murray is someone that should be rostered for the rest of the season, because we've seen how effective he is when Kamara goes down. If, and knock on wood, Kamara happens to go down, Latavius Murray instantly becomes the biggest league winner if that were to happen. And this week against a banged up Niners defense, there's a chance he falls into the end zone. He's gonna get his fair share of work, around 10 carries, but he's going to get the goal line work, and I think he's going to be solid this week and for the rest of the season. Hold on to him. So that'll do it for this episode of Deep League Streams. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.